Good day to one and all. Today we are thinking about how to select a pet. Which pet will we select? How do we select the breed of the pet? These are all questions which most of us have, especially when our children come and ask us for a pet. They do not know how to select. So we as parents would have to take over the duty of selecting the pet. So how do you do it? There are a few points which we have to consider. The first point that we have to consider is why are we growing a pet or why do we want a pet? Normally, we want a pet for companionship. In some cases, there are people who want it for breeding, for economic purposes. Sometimes you will have pets for guiding, like guide dogs or pets for the blind. But normally in Kerala, we see pets are normally grown for companionship. So then, who does the pet be a companion to? Is it to the children of the home, or is it to the parents, or is it to the grandparents? These are all factors we have to consider. So before we select our pet, before we select the breed, we have to decide the purpose. In most cases, the children will be the one who choose the pet or who desire to have a pet. But as parents, we should remember that the children will grow up and they will fly away from the nest. At that time, the pet will remain with us. So we must be able to handle the pet that we are choosing. Our age, that is another factor that we have to consider, because when our children grow up and leave home, will we be able to handle the pet? Supposing you buy a Great Dane. A Great Dane is one of the biggest breeds of dogs. It's one of the bigger breeds of the dogs. It's a giant breed. So if it is an unruly Great Dane which has not been trained properly, we as parents, when we grow old, we will not be able to handle it properly because the dogs are heavy and they are full of power. They just can hit us with one shot and we can fall down. So it is very important to select a pet which we can control in our age as we grow older. The next point that we will normally consider will be the time that we can spend with the animal. So the time that we can spend with the animal is very important. The pet is very important. If it is a hairy breed dog like a Cocker Spaniel, German Shepherds, all these dogs, it can be a Persian cat, all these will need a lot of time. They will have to be groomed well, they will have to be taken care. The latest breed that everyone takes a fancy for is the Shih Tzu. The Shih Tzu is a dog which is supposed to be hypoallergenic, but we have found that here in Kerala, most of the Shih Tzus, if they are not taken well care of, or if their grooming is not done perfectly, we find that most of them will they develop skin issues. So we have to be sure of how much time we have to take care of the pet. If it is based on that, we have to decide the type of pet. Supposing you take a Dachshund, which doesn't have much hair, it's a short-haired dog. It doesn't need much of time for grooming. And today we have seen a normal Deshi dog, which we call in Malayalam Nadan Patti. But that is actually one of the best companions that we can ever have. So they do not need much of care because their fur is soft, short, and they have much more immunity than the breed dogs. So we think so. Then how much can we afford? Do we have a lot of money, 10,000, 1 lakh? Do we have 50,000, or are we people who do not have money? If we do not have money, we can adopt. There are many places like the People for Animals which give the normal Deshi dogs and other dogs for adoption on free of cost. So we can go in for that based on our financial capacity. So our financial capacity is very important factor in deciding a dog. Supposing you are in deciding a cat. Supposing you go in for a Persian cat, remember that it has to have a lot of care, grooming, a lot of time, a lot of money has to be spent on it. So unless we have that time and money, do not select the breed that needs more of these. Our inherent likes are another factor. I personally prefer a Dachshund. I love Dachshunds. I love the small, their hunting capacity. I like the way they look at us. But then that's not the same with another person. Another person may prefer a German Shepherd. So our inherent likes of the way the animal appears, how it looks to us, how beautiful it looks to us, That is another very important factor when we have to consider when we select a breed. And last but not the least is the genetic disorders that can come up in a breed. Supposing you take a Dalmatian, you have to be aware of the fact that the Dalmatians have ear and eye problems. They are genetically, they have that problem. Similarly happens with Labradors. Hip dysplasia is a genetically transmitted problem in Labradors. So these are factors that we have to consider before we select our breed. We also have one more factor, that is the space that we have in our home. Supposing we are living in a flat and we choose a Great Dane. There are people who are growing Great Danes in flats. It's not that it's not impossible, but that dog needs to stretch out. It needs to run. So do you have that much space in a flat for that dog to run? All you can do is bring it down for small walks. So are we doing good to the animal if we take a big Great Dane and put it in a small flat? So think about the space that we have. Do we have 1 acre behind our home, or do we have just 8 cents behind our home? So based on that, select the breed which will require less or more exercise. So if it is large breeds like Labradors and Golden Retrievers and German Shepherds, they need a lot of exercise. So we have to be sure that we can give that constant exercise. Only then we can get a healthy companion animal or a healthy pet. But at the same time, supposing we are in a flat, we can choose small animals like the cat. The cat doesn't need much of exercise. It can be grown very easily in a flat. So these are all the factors. I'll just list them again. The purpose of growing our pet, our own age, our space constraint, the time we have, the financial capacity that we have, our own inherent likes and dislikes of certain breeds, and the genetic disorders. These are all factors that you have to consider before you select a pet, either for the family or for yourself. Thank you.